Discover the advantage of unlimited access to all the stories and resources from IBJ and inside Indiana business. From insights to inspiration, business leaders rely on the IBJ for all things Indiana business. Start your $1 a week trial now at ibj.com/trial offer.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. I'm Alex Brown. The U.S. subsidiary for Israel-based manufacturer Polyram Group is planning to expand operations in Evansville. The Evansville Regional Economic Partnership announced today that Polyram USA will invest more than $12 million to build a 100,000-square-foot warehouse and add a 10th manufacturing line. The company currently employs 106 people at its facility in the Vanderburg Industrial Park and plans to add 9 jobs as a result of the expansion. The project is being done in phases and is expected to be completed sometime this year. Indiana University Health says its planned $4.3 billion downtown Indianapolis hospital complex is about 60% complete and on schedule to open in late 2027. The new 864-room hospital, consisting of 3 16-story towers, will combine and replace nearby Methodist Hospital and University Hospital on the IU Indianapolis campus. Susan Bauman, a former vice president at the Indiana Sports Corp, has been named the inaugural Director of Experiential Learning and Industry Engagement for Purdue University's master's degree program in sports management. She began her new role today at Purdue's Indianapolis location. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise@ibj.com to learn more.
Jordan Richardson and Abraham Gordillo began working together about 4 months ago. Now, the South Bend builders are using that partnership to take on more development projects than either could manage alone. Richardson, co-founder of Inner City Development, and Gordillo, founder of Reliable Roofing and Construction, have aligned their businesses around a shared goal of scaling neighborhood development across the city. Richardson said their model runs contrary to how most small businesses in their industry tend to operate.
There's more power in collaboration than in competition. Small businesses tend to compete, corporations tend to collaborate, and we each take a little bit off the table. We push into a new frontier. Black and brown people who are massively underrepresented in the construction and development space. The other thing is just that there's the fear of construction, as if it's like some complicated monster coming from our communities, often where we are, again, the laborers. It's cool to be able to break down the fears of construction.
Together, they are active in South Bend's Lincoln Park neighborhood, where the partners plan to build nearly 20 homes this year. Richardson said he expects inner city development to eventually expand beyond South Bend with a more diverse ownership team and a growing footprint that could extend to Gary and outside Indiana. The U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Indiana on Tuesday dismissed a federal lawsuit filed by several former Indiana University basketball players who accused the university of doing nothing to stop repeated rectal exams they said they received from the former team physician. Judge Tanya Walton Pratt dismissed the plaintiffs' Title IX and Section 1983 claims, stating that the claims are barred by a 2-year statute of limitations. However, she noted that the claims made by the plaintiffs under Indiana state law should be decided by an Indiana state court, and dismissed those claims without prejudice so they can be refiled in state court. A manufacturer in southern Jackson County is marking the start of production as part of a new partnership with Japanese automaker Mazda. Ice and Drivetrain is using its facility in Crothersville to assemble and test 6-speed transmissions that will be used in Mazda's CX-30 and CX-50 crossover SUVs. President Joe Newman said the company has invested about $35 million in the project, which came together in very quick fashion.
Normally, when production lines would come into a facility, you have about 12 to 18 months to install, test, and then run some trial parts before you go. And we were able to get all of this equipment in here, installed, and build our first shippable product within 8 months, which is really almost unheard of.
Newman said the company plans to add about 50 jobs as a result of the partnership with Mazda. Marion County Public Health Department Director Dr. Virginia Kane is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
Whether it's healthcare innovation, major infrastructure, or global sports impact, Inside Indiana Business with Gary Dick tells the stories of Indiana's groundbreakers and game changers. It's the must-listen show for business, civic, and community leaders across the state. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcast.com.
Do you want to know what really drives change in Indiana? You won't find it in sound bites, you'll find it in stories. Stories from CEOs, lawyers, coaches, entrepreneurs, and community advocates. That's the IBJ Media Podcast Network. Insightful, local, impactful. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcast.com.